All right, so get ready, because this deep dive, it takes us to Miami. But not for the reasons you might think. We're not here for, like, the beaches or anything like that.
No, definitely not the vacation version of Miami.
Yeah, you're into true crime, right? And we've got a case that's going to be right up your alley. It's got it all. Audio logs, transcripts, even some online reviews that really get into the psychology of this whole thing.
It's wild.
So picture this. Miami, but the underbelly, the greedy side. Bodies start turning up, and they're all connected to, you know, the kind of stuff most people only see in movies. Prostitutes, drug dealers, that whole world.
The underbelly of the city.
Exactly. But here's the thing. The bodies, they're oddly dot clean. Like, really clean, almost bloodless. It's unsettling, you know? It's like, what kind of killer is this that hates a mess this much?
That's what's so fascinating, isn't it? I mean, usually the blood tells a story. It's raw, it's emotional. But this is different. It's like the killer's trying to control something.
Yeah, it's like they're erasing something. Okay, so we got to talk about the man at the center of all this, Dexter Morgan. And before you say anything, we're not just talking about the TV show.
No. This is deeper.
This is going straight to the source.
Yeah.
His actual words. 0936.mp3, to be precise. It's an audio log. And when you listen to it, you hear Dexter talking about Miami. The food, the weather. He almost sounds like, well, like a normal guy.
Yeah, he's got this way of blending in. It's almost unnerving.
Right. But then he starts talking about the victims.
Yeah.
And that's when you realize this guy, he's got this whole other life going on in his head.
It's like he's leading a double life, but inside his own mind.
Exactly. And the audio log, it's like this window into that other life. He talks about this urge, this hunger he feels, even calls it a monster that's always clawing to get out.
So we know he's got this dark side.
Yeah.
But he's not just some random killer. He's got this code, this very specific way he operates. And that's what makes him so fascinating and so terrifying at the same time.
Yeah, and you can really hear that in his voice in the log when he talks about his code and when he talks about his first victim. This guy, Mike Donovan, a real piece of work, preyed on kids, really awful stuff. And Dexter, he sees that and it's like something snaps. That's what he considers deserving of death.
And that's a huge part of what we're going to unpack here. Where does this code come from? What twisted sense of justice could lead someone to believe that the asterisk have the right to decide who lives and who dies?
Well, that's where his past comes in. Specifically, his foster father, Harry.
Ah, Harry. The man, the myth, the enabler.
Right. He was a cop, supposedly a good one. But here's the thing. Harry, he recognized Dexter's darkness early on. Instead of trying to, get him help or whatever, he decided to channel it, like training a weapon. Talk about a messed up parenting technique, huh? But it explains so much about how Dexter operates. He sees himself as this tool for justice in a world that's already gone to hell.
And that's the question, isn't it? When you try to control darkness, even towards what you believe is a good end, does it actually make it any less dark?
And as if Dexter's own messed up code wasn't enough, Miami decides to give him and us another thing to think about.
Yeah, this case, it's a whole other level of crazy.
We're talking about murders, brutal ones, but the weird part is what's missing. There's no blood. Like none.
It's almost like the killer is, almost too careful, too precise. Like they're trying to leave out a part of the story.
And isn't that what makes it even creepier? Like, what does that say about their mental state? They want to be in control of everything, even the mess.
Exactly. And that's where, looking at Dexter's perspective on this whole thing really comes in handy, I think. He's not just trying to solve another case here. He's starting to see himself in this killer, like a twisted reflection.
And it's Miami. So, of course, this whole thing lands right on Dexter's foster sister's desk, Detective Deborah Morgan.
Which adds this whole other layer to the story, don't you think?
Yeah.
I mean, talk about family drama.
Seriously. But Deborah, she's a good detective. She wants to solve this, but she's hitting all these dead ends. And her boss, Lieutenant Lagerta, she's not making it any easier.
No, she definitely isn't. But while Deborah's running around chasing leads, Dexter's over here, doing what he does, I guess. Being all intuitive and insightful.
And those insights, that's what makes this so interesting. He's listening to Deborah complain about the case, but you can tell he's putting the pieces together in his own head. You know what I mean? He's fixated on the lack of blood, how the bodies were dismembered, all of it. It's like a puzzle only HE can solve.
Exactly. That's where his expertise, as morbid as it might seem to us, actually kind of comes in handy. Most detectives would focus on witnesses, trying to figure out who had it out for the victims, motives, all that stuff. But Dexter, well, he sees things differently.
Because of his own darkness. Right. Yeah. He notices things other people don't.
Exactly. Like how cold the bodies were when they found them, or how clean the cuts were, stuff like that. And it all starts pointing towards something really creepy. A refrigerated truck.
Dude, that is terrifying. Just imagine this guy driving around Miami, not only committing these awful murders, but keeping everything all neat and tidy in the back of this refrigerated truck. That's messed up.
It's all about control for this guy. It's not enough to just kill. He has to control every single little detail, even the cleanup.
And he wants everyone to know it. Get this. Dexter's driving down the highway one day, just minding his own business, when this refrigerated truck cuts him off. And of course, Dexter being Dexter, he follows it. Next thing you know, this severed head comes flying through the air and lands right on his car. Talk about a message.
That's not even a message, that's a straight-up threat. This killer is telling Dexter, I see you, I know what you are.
And Dexter's reaction is the crazy part. He isn't even mad. He's intrigued.
Of course he is.
It's like this killer is the only one who really gets him, you know? And then it gets even weirder. Dexter goes home and guess what he finds? A Barbie doll, head cut off, just sitting on his freezer. And inside the doll, it's dismembered, just like the victims.
Okay, now that is just messed up. Talk about a calling card.
It's like this twisted game they're playing, right? And Dexter can't help but play along.
It's like this killer he's putting on a show. Right?
Yeah.
And not just for anyone, for Dexter specifically.
Oh, yeah, it's totally a challenge. Like, hey, Dexter, you think you're in control? Look at this.
And that's got to mess with Dexter's head, right?
Yeah.
Because this is his world, his game. Now someone else is playing it, and they're good.
And it's weird, but do you think a part of Dexter might be, like, almost excited by it? Like, finally, someone who gets it.
I mean, it's Dexter, so probably. It's like finding someone who speaks your language, but your language is, like, all about death and control. And as this whole twisted game unfolds, you really see Dexter change. He's trying to figure out the killer's next move, but it's like he's also looking in a mirror, you know?
Yeah.
Questioning his own thing.
And just when you think this ice truck killer, which is what they're calling him now, can't get any creepier, he takes it up a notch. He starts leaving clues at the crime scenes. But not just any clues, clues that only Dexter would understand. It's like their own messed up Morse code.
Yeah, it's like he's saying, come and find me, Dexter, if you can. And the more we learn about this ice truck killer, the more you realize this isn't just a game to him. This is personal. He's got his own demons, his own reasons for doing what he does.
And it all comes back to this question. What happens when these two worlds collide? Two guys, both with a twisted sense of right and wrong, both thinking they're the good guy.
That's what makes this whole thing so compelling, right? It's a psychological thriller, but it also makes you think it's about human nature, the dark side that we all have, and the choices we make, even when those choices are terrifying.
So what's the takeaway here? I mean, we've gone deep into Dexter's world, the mind of a killer, this whole messed up case. What does it all mean?
I think it's a reminder that the line between good and evil, it's not always so clear. We all have our own darkness, our own demons, and sometimes the people we think are the scariest are the ones who are the most like us.
And on that happy note, we're out. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the dark side of Miami. Sleep tight, everybody.